Every trader believes they lose because of the market, but the truth is, the market doesn't destroy you. Your own emotions do. That's the hidden truth, the one few want to face. Behind every blown account, every missed rally, every premature exit, there's an invisible hand at play. And it's not Wall Street, not the Fed, not even the algos. It's something far more intimate and far more dangerous. It's emotion. But not just fear and not just greed. There's one emotion, subtle, seductive, and ruinous, that Jesse Livermore himself battled his entire career. The very emotion that made him rich and then took it all away. Tonight, we're not just talking charts, we're peeling back the psychology, the human machinery behind every market decision. Because if you don't understand this emotion, the market will find it in you, exploit it, and take everything you've got. So let's go back to the early 1900s, the ticker tape era, smoke-filled rooms, the rhythmic chatter of the exchange, and one man, Jesse Livermore, the boy plunger, the speculator who built and lost several fortunes before most traders today even knew what technical analysis meant. Livermore once said, "The stock market is never wrong, opinions often are." But what he didn't say outright was that opinions are born from emotion. And among them, there's one emotion that quietly destroys traders more than all others combined. This emotion disguises itself as discipline. It pretends to be intelligence. It whispers, "You're doing the right thing." And yet, it blinds you to opportunity, strangles conviction, and leaves you staring at a screen full of regrets. What is it? You'll see soon enough. Because before we can name it, we need to understand the battlefield it thrives on, the mind of the trader. Trading isn't about markets, it's about moments, the moments between decision and doubt. Every trade is a test, not of your analysis, but of your emotional endurance. And as Livermore discovered, no strategy, no system, no signal can save you if you haven't conquered your own psychology first. That's why this story isn't about charts, it's about control. So as we enter this journey, ask yourself, when was the last time you made a trade out of emotion, not logic? Did it help you, or did it hurt you? Comment your thoughts below. I want to know how you wrestle with your own mind when the market starts moving against you. Because in the next part, we'll go deeper into the inner conflict every trader faces, the silent war between patience and impulse, and the hidden emotion that lives right between them.
There's a paradox every trader faces, one that Jesse Livermore called the test of the invisible market. It's not the price action you see, it's the battle you don't. The market is designed to fool most of the people most of the time, Jesse Livermore. But what he really meant was that the market mirrors our inner contradictions. You see, every trader is split between two selves. The logical self, that reads the chart, studies the setup, places the stop, and the emotional self that whispers, "Move it, take profit, double down, don't miss out." These two selves are never in harmony, they are at war. Livermore once said he made his money sitting, not trading. And yet, he confessed that sitting, that act of doing nothing, was the hardest thing a trader could ever do. Because inaction, in the mind of a trader, feels like failure. Think about that for a second. In every other area of life, effort equals progress. Work harder, earn more, train longer, get stronger. But in the markets, the opposite can be true. Sometimes, the harder you try, the faster you lose. That's the paradox that destroys most traders. They believe that doing something means they're in control. But Livermore knew the truth. The market rewards discipline, not activity. And yet, even he wasn't immune. When prices moved fast, when headlines screamed panic or euphoria, Livermore felt it. The same emotion that still grips traders today. The fear of being wrong, or worse, the fear of being left behind. That emotion, that need for control, is the seed of ruin. Because in trading, control is an illusion. You can't control the market. You can't control volatility. You can't control what other people will do. The only thing you can ever truly control is your reaction. But that's where the paradox deepens. Because the more you try to control your reaction, the more you feel it. You suppress the urge to act until it builds into pressure. You try to stay calm until one candle, one breakout, one flash crash unleashes everything you've been holding back. That's when traders break their own rules. Not because they don't know better, but because they can't stand the feeling of uncertainty anymore. And that's the emotion Livermore feared most, Not greed, not fear, but impatience. Impatience is the quiet saboteur. It wears the mask of progress. It tells you, act now, before it's too late. It convinces you that waiting is weakness, and that missing a move is the ultimate sin. But what's worse than missing a move? Entering too early and watching the market punish your impatience. Livermore learned this paradox through pain. He would find the perfect setup, identify the pattern, then jump too soon. And when the market didn't confirm, he'd be forced out, only to watch it move exactly as he predicted after he was gone. Sound familiar? Every trader knows that sting, being right but not profitable. Because trading isn't about being right, it's about being timed right. And that timing is psychological, not technical. Livermore wrote that the market never gave him what he wanted when he wanted it. It taught him patience through humiliation. So when you stare at your screen, heart racing, finger hovering over the mouse, remember, that tension you feel isn't the market, it's the mirror of your own impatience. The market isn't testing your strategy, it's testing your self-control. What would you do in that moment? Would you wait or would you act? Comment below, because this is the question that separates professionals from gamblers. And in the next section, we'll go deeper into the psychological trap that turns this impatience into destruction, the hidden loop that makes traders repeat the same mistakes even when they know better.
It wasn't the market that beat me, it was me, beating myself. Jesse Livermore. That line should send chills down every trader's spine, because it reveals the core of the trap, the invisible loop that consumes even the most brilliant minds in the game. Let me take you inside it. The trap begins small. You make a losing trade, nothing dramatic, just a sting. But instead of letting it go, your mind begins to build a story. I'll get it back. The next one will fix this. You justify a risk you wouldn't normally take. You tighten your stop, or worse, you remove it. You're not trading anymore, you're reacting. And that's when the emotion, the hidden one, begins to take over. It's not fear. Fear makes you freeze. It's not greed either. Greed makes you overreach. No, this one's quieter. It's revenge. The desire to make the market pay for your pain. You felt it, haven't you? That burning need to prove something, to the market, to yourself, maybe to the invisible audience you imagine watching from behind your screen. Revenge trading is the most human thing a trader can do. It's the raw, primal instinct of a wounded ego trying to reclaim control. But the market doesn't care about your need for justice. It doesn't even know you exist. Livermore understood this, painfully, intimately. After losing millions in 1906, he swore he'd never trade emotionally again. But when the 1907 panic hit, he couldn't resist. The market's chaos was like a siren's call, and Livermore dove in, fueled by the same hidden emotion that traps modern traders every single day. He wasn't trading setups, he was trading feelings. And feelings, when weaponized by the market, are fatal. This is the paradox of revenge. You think you're fighting back, but you're actually surrendering control. You think you're winning back dignity, but you're feeding the very emotion that took it from you. Revenge doesn't just make you trade more, it makes you blind. You start seeing patterns that aren't there. You twist logic into justification. You're no longer following your system, you're following your emotional compass, and it always points toward pain. And the worst part? It feels good in the moment. There's a rush, a false sense of redemption. You're taking action, reclaiming agency. But deep down, you know it's desperation disguised as discipline. Livermore called this the emotional relapse. He compared it to an addict who's sworn off his vice until the slightest trigger drags him back into the cycle. Every trader's relapse begins the same way, not with a loss, but with the inability to accept one. That's the real psychological trap. We think trading is about winning and losing, but it's actually about accepting and releasing. If you can't accept loss, you'll seek revenge. And if you seek revenge, you'll guarantee more loss. A perfect loop, engineered by emotion. Livermore's journals show moments where he knew what he was doing was wrong, yet he couldn't stop. He'd write, "I saw it coming, I just couldn't help myself." He understood the pattern, but not the cure. That's the terrifying part of trading psychology. Awareness isn't enough. You can know what's happening and still fall into it. Because this isn't a rational game, it's emotional warfare. And the battlefield isn't on your screen, it's inside your mind. So when you take a loss, remember, the market hasn't hurt you. It's simply exposed what's already inside you. Your fear, your pride, your impatience, your need for control, it's all there, reflected back in price action. Livermore learned that no chart pattern could save him until he conquered this truth. And in the next section, we'll explore how he did it, the mindset that turned emotional chaos into psychological mastery. Before we go there, though, I want to know something. Have you ever taken a trade out of frustration, not logic? Did it help you or make things worse? Comment your story below, because every trader has their moment of emotional relapse. Jesse Livermore wasn't born wise. He was forged in loss, humiliation, and reflection. Every market cycle carved another lesson into him, and none was more profound than this. A man must believe in himself and his judgment if he expects to make a living at this game. That's why I don't believe in tips. Livermore understood, the market doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards emotional discipline. After losing everything multiple times, he realized the problem wasn't strategy, it wasn't timing, it wasn't luck, it was his own emotional attachment to the outcome. He once said, "It was never my thinking that made the big money, it was always my sitting." But sitting wasn't about patience alone, it was about psychological detachment. You see, Livermore learned that every trader faces two simultaneous games. The outer game, reading markets, analyzing trends, placing trades. The inner game, mastering ego, emotion, and identity. Most traders focus on the first. Livermore focused on the second, because he knew, if your mind isn't stable, your method won't matter. Livermore's secret weapon wasn't his system, it was his self-awareness. When he felt emotion rising, excitement, fear, revenge, he didn't suppress it, he observed it. He wrote it down, analyzed it, dissected it like a scientist studying his own brain. He believed that markets expose your character. If you're greedy, the market will feed that greed until it destroys you. If you're fearful, it will corner you with opportunities you're too scared to take. If you're impulsive, it will dangle false setups until you exhaust your account. But if you can remain detached, calm, patient, deliberate, the market will reward you with clarity. That was Livermore's revolution in thinking. He stopped trying to fight the market and started studying himself within it. He wrote in his personal notes that after every major loss, he didn't review the charts first, he reviewed his emotions. He'd ask, what was I feeling before that trade? What was I trying to prove? And almost always, the answer was ego. He wasn't trying to make money, he was trying to redeem himself. That realization changed him. He began to see that the true game wasn't about predicting prices, it was about predicting his own impulses. He developed what he called the waiting discipline. He'd watch markets for weeks, sometimes months, without placing a single order. Not because he didn't see trades, but because he understood his edge was emotional silence. In that silence, he gained what few traders ever achieve: detachment. He no longer felt the need to chase, to force, to prove. He became the hunter waiting in stillness, not the prey reacting to movement. This mindset shift was what separated him from the crowd. He wasn't trading stocks, he was trading human nature. He realized that every chart pattern, every panic, every rally was just emotion visualized. And if he could remain immune to those emotional tides, he could anticipate what others would do next. That's why Livermore said, the human side of every person is the greatest enemy of the average investor or speculator. He didn't mean you should become emotionless. He meant you must become emotionally fluent. Understand your emotions, name them, use them, but never let them use you. Livermore often compared trading to war, not against others, but against one's own nature. He once noted that the game taught me the game, and it didn't spare me the rod while teaching. Pain was his tuition, reflection was his diploma. That's how he beat the emotion, not by killing it, but by transforming it.
He turned fear into caution. He turned greed into patience. He turned revenge into self-awareness. And through it all, he understood one enduring truth. The big money is not in the buying and selling, but in the waiting. That's Livermore's legacy, not just as a trader, but as a philosopher of human behavior. He didn't conquer the markets, he conquered himself within them. Now, in the next section, we'll see how this philosophy lives on through a real story of a modern trader facing the same emotional demons Livermore battled a century ago, a story that proves markets change, but human nature never does. Before we move there, tell me in the comments, which emotion do you struggle with most as a trader? Fear, greed, impatience, revenge? Your honesty might just help another trader see themselves more clearly.
There's a trader I once knew. Let's call him Daniel. He wasn't a rookie. He wasn't reckless. He was what every trader thinks they should be: disciplined, analytical, structured. For years, he traded small, grew slow, and built confidence brick by brick. Until one day, everything unraveled. It began the way it often does, with a perfect setup, the kind of trade that whispers, "This is the one." He entered with size, conviction, and the kind of calm that only comes when you've convinced yourself you're right. But the market doesn't care about conviction. Within hours, the position turned against him. He told himself, "It's just noise, it'll come back." He adjusted his stop, moved it wider, a few points more. Then he added to the position. Just once, then again. By the end of the day, Daniel wasn't managing a trade, he was managing hope. And hope, in the markets, is the most expensive emotion of all. That night, he couldn't sleep. His mind replayed every candle, every missed exit. He woke at 2 a.m., refreshed his charts, whispered to himself, "If it just gaps up in the morning, I'm fine." But morning came, and the market gapped down, hard. In a single session, months of profit vanished. And in that moment, Daniel wasn't just losing money, he was losing identity. You see, every trader secretly builds a self-image around being a winner. When that image cracks, something dark emerges, the need for redemption. That's when emotion steps in, dressed as logic. He told himself, the next trade will fix this. It didn't. The next one will recover it. It didn't. Every loss wasn't just a number, it was a wound. And like Livermore a century before him, Daniel started to trade revenge disguised as reason. He wasn't trading to make money anymore. He was trading to silence the voice in his head that said, "You failed." Within 3 weeks, he had blown through what took him years to build. He stared at his statement, disbelief, anger, silence. And then something rare happened. He didn't quit. He didn't jump into another trade. He did something far harder. He stopped. For the first time, he stepped away from the screen, not because he wanted to, but because he had to. And in that silence, he began to write. He wrote every emotion he felt, every mistake, every rationalization. When he looked back, he saw the pattern clearly. Every bad decision began not with a bad setup, but with a feeling he refused to acknowledge. That's when he discovered Livermore's writings. He read reminiscences of a stock operator, and it felt like looking into a mirror that stretched across time. Livermore's words, "The game taught me the game," hit him like truth disguised as prophecy. Because Daniel finally realized, the market isn't your enemy, it's your reflection. It doesn't punish you, it exposes you. And every loss is a chance not to fix the market, but to fix yourself. Months later, Daniel came back, smaller size, cleaner focus. This time, he didn't trade to win, he traded to execute. He didn't chase every move, he waited for his move. And when he lost, he smiled. Because loss was no longer identity, it was information. That's the transformation Livermore talked about, turning pain into awareness, emotion into data, reaction into reflection. And that, my friends, is how Jesse Livermore beat the hidden emotion that ruins every trader. Not by suppressing it, but by understanding it. Because at the end of the day, the markets aren't made of numbers and charts, they're made of people. And every chart you see is just emotion, painted in price. The question is, will you let your emotions trade you, or will you learn to trade them? Before you go, tell me in the comments, what's the emotion that's cost you the most in your trading journey? Your story might be the lifeline another trader needs to hear.